What's up, playoff party people of the SFL? What's going on tonight, this beautiful Tuesday, or Thursday night. I guess it would help if I knew which day it was. Damn. Welcome to episode 33 of Axis Live and our wild card preview show. And boy, do we have a show for you tonight. Check this out. We're kicking off the show with Jack's Data Crew, the Jack's Data Crew. Make sure also you let me know how you guys can hear me, if you can hear me well. Kicking it off with the Jack's Data Crew. They're going to be breaking down the Season 15 ELO stats for us. Plus, they're going to be unveiling their wild card game spreads and over-unders for us right here live on the show. Then, we're going to preview not only the wild card games. What's up, Ace? Good to see you, my favorite quarterback. But the wild card teams as well. We're breaking everything down tonight. We also have Gunny's Pearls of Wisdom, as always. Our Week 12 Diva of the Week winner, Wildcard Pick'ems, SFL Minor League Week 1 preview, and our After Dark segment will have Ethan Kai discussing his SFL Season 16 expansion bid with us. We also are hoping to get Cam and or DC on the show when we talk about the minor league near the end of the show before we go to the After Dark portion. So, whew, that's a lot. That's a lot to be to get through. So be prepared to go the full hour and a half. So we're going to try to cut this off as close to 10:30 as possible, so everybody can get over to AJ's show that will kick off at 10:30 tonight. So, all right. Speaking of all you people, let's take a peek in here. Let's see who's in here tonight. Party people in the house are the Crim Reaper, Chris Lee, Doug Britton, Kendra Hall, Art Vandelay, Wiggy 9800, 89 Will Todd, Pink Lisa's in the house. Oh, she must be drinking. Let's see. Fierce Pierce is here again. Good to see you. The original Tai. Freddie, of course. Ray, Ike, Phoenix. What's up, Phoenix? Good to see you, bro. Who else we got here? A lot of the same names. You guys are really talkative tonight, it looks like, in here. Bob Funk, always good to see you, bro. My favorite quarterback, Ace. Benji's in the house. Oh, my boy, Easy. Do I sound like a diva, Easy? I mean, you should know. You've known me for 30 plus years. Fox Highwind's here. Good to see you, Fox. It's been a minute. And let's see. Winkler, yeah, good thing. Cliff, good to see you, bro. Greg Soto, the Cuban Missile, is in the house. He had a good week, just saying. It's Blairy. Not sure who you are, but welcome to the show. Thomas Smith, as always. And YF and Fluffy. I don't know who you are, bro, but I love the name. Nate's in here as well with Kendra. And I think that's about it. That's a lot of peeps. We got a lot of people in here. So I'm excited. I hope you're excited. So let's get this party started and start introducing tonight's panel. First off, we've got a show regular and my Lone Star teammate. I mean, when I say show regular, I think he's been on probably 90% of the shows. And also my teammate over in Lone Star, Thomas Smith, is with us. Thomas Smith is in the house. Thomas, what's going on, bro?
Hey, Dave. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing outstanding. We got a great show, and we got a lot to talk about. Another show regular and another teammate of mine who just got promoted to the head coach of the Lone Star Glory. Coach, congratulations and welcome back to the show.
Dave, I know I don't have a lot of experience with video games or football, so I just want to thank you for this opportunity to be here and to talk with all of you. Very kind.
Got it. Well, I'm not sure that I don't even know how to respond to that. All right, moving on.
That's for Jeremy Vega if he's out there.
Oh, hey, Jeremy Vega. Is JV in the house? No, probably not yet. We're not going to see any owners for a little bit, I think. Eddie Gage will be with us later. He's running behind, but he will be here hopefully in time to do what he's supposed to do. Back with us, linebacker out of London and the director of content for the SFL, Jeff Gagne's back. Jeff, what's up?
Feels good to be back, Dave. Feels like a couple years, but I'm ready to go.
Well, it's good to have you back. London's in the house tonight, man. First a linebacker, now a tight end. Color commentator for the SFL broadcasting team. Benji Matson's back with us. What's up, Benji?
What is up? I'm just here so I don't have to put the kids to bed.
There you go. That's almost like getting fined. And then as far as panelists go, last but not least, Tyler Falk is with us. Tyler Falk was on the show the other night, if you remember. He is a first-time panelist for us. He's a strong safety with the Memphis River Runners in the SFL Minor League, and he's part of the SFL Minor League broadcasting team. Tyler, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dave. I'm just happy to be on.
Yep, glad to have you. I will be introducing other people throughout the show as we get things going. Let me kick things off with this. Boom. Jack's Data is in the house. Now, found out about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours before showtime, that Jack Wall is sick, and he was actually going to get the Q-tip up the nose test done. That's how bad he was feeling. So keep Jack in your thoughts and prayers. So Hunter Norwood, defensive tackle out of Jacksonville. They've had a great season. He's also fourth in sacks this season with 16 and a half. Looks like he's going to be riding solo tonight. Hunter, welcome to the show. Or welcome back to the show.
It's good to be back. Better half of Jack's Data.
Better.
You know.
Is that what you're saying? You know this is recorded.
Yeah.
You know this is recorded, Jack. We'll hear it later, right?
Jack's just a diva, so.
Well, that's kind of why I like him. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
You got to make fun of him because it was seasonal allergies, as he put it.
Well, let's see. If it's seasonal allergies, then we'll tease him. But in the meantime, we'll take it seriously because you just never know. All right.
Yeah.
So let's start breaking down the Jack's Data. I know that you've been with us all season. We've been talking about your data on the show all season long. Give us kind of a breakdown. Actually, let's do this first. Can you give us like maybe a 30-second explanation on what ELO is, just in case nobody heard your show before or heard the show when you were on before? Just real quick, just kind of tell them what is it that what is ELO? You don't have to break down how it works, but what it is.
30 seconds it'll be. It's like basically a power ranking or a skill rating for just different teams at its root. And then how we use it is we match teams up based on their skill rating, and it gives them a win probability, and then based on the score difference, they gain or lose points, and then that just repeats upon itself weekly.
Awesome. And for those of you that are in the chat, Winkler also put a textbook definition in there, so you can read that if you want to. All right, Hunter, give us the breakdown. How'd you guys do this season? Go ahead and start wherever you want.
All right, let me see. I actually came prepared this time, so I wrote everything down. And, but now I gotta find it. Let's see.
Well, while you're doing that,
I found it.
You got it.
It's,
all right.
Yeah. I'm sorry. As far as favorites against the spread, we were 69, 62, and 1.
Wait, say that one more time. Sorry.
Favorites against the spread.
Yep.
69, 62, and 1. So 69 team favorites covered, 62 times they missed, and then the one push was week 12, you guys in Chicago.
Ah, okay. All right. So that was against the spread. What's next?
We had over-unders. So out of 132 games, 62 of them hit the over and 70 of them hit the under.
Okay. Although I would say on that, you guys definitely did better as the season went on, it seemed. Is that just because you had more data?
Yeah, I'd say so. And to a degree, I started to kind of, as we get more data, I can kind of ballpark scores a little better. Instead of earlier, I have to basically just go with what I have.
Okay.
Let's see. As far as like teams go, the best team against the spread was Denver at 10-2.
Right.
The worst team against the spread was Chicago, who was 3-8-1.
3-8-1. That one tie being with us.
Yes. Let's see. Home, as far as home teams, so it's breaking it down a little bit. Purely home teams against the spread. Home teams were 78, 53, and 1. So that was a little better than
than the overall, yeah.
few games.
And then what?
Go
What about
ahead.
the away against the spread? Do you have that as well?
I don't actually. I just have. I would assume it would be
Just the
a.
opposite, right? You think?
Yeah, it would just be a
Yeah.
flip.
Okay. Okay. What else you got for us?
As far as spreads go, that's more or less it. I could give you like every team's record against the spread if you really wanted it.
Well, you gave us the best and the worst. Give us a couple teams right in the middle.
Let's see. Well, for one, Lone Star was 7-1.
Okay.
There was honestly honestly like 90% of the league is all within like one game, because there's about 5, 6, and 6 teams, being Carolina, Charleston, London, Houston, and Louisiana. Actually, was 6 and 6.
Oh, Louisiana went 6-6, huh?
Yeah.
Is that because they blew more teams out, or because they lost a couple games they weren't supposed to, or what was the data behind that?
It was more so games that they lost, as well as they were killing teams so much that we more often than not gave them higher spreads. So like the Portland game, we gave them 20.5. They still won by like 15, I think.
Right.
But they didn't cover.
But they didn't cover.
So that's still a loss.
Okay.
Some other big teams like Baltimore was 5-7. Let's see.
I'll bet, and I don't know if you have the data in front of you, but I bet Baltimore was tougher in the beginning of the season, right? They probably lost more, and then once they started playing better, they were better against the spread.
Yeah, I'd say so. And a lot of most of the teams, if you see week to week, it tends to stick around about the same sort of area of it's -3.5, -7.5, 6.5s. There's not a whole lot of 10.5s or 13s or 17s or whatnot.
Right.
It's all kind of in that kind of space. So there are teams that are winning, but they're just not covering, or maybe they do lose. So most like the big name teams, if they're losing, they're probably not covering.
Right. Do you was 20.5 that Louisiana game? Was that the biggest spread we had all year?
That's the biggest spread I've ever done.
That is the biggest spread. What was the biggest over under we had this season?
Probably somewhere in the range of like 62 or 60. I think I had a 65.5 one time.
Yeah, I asked that question. Actually, Jack was in the chat one night. I don't know if you were in there, if you remember this or not, but we had a couple teams where they're scoring like the over under was like in the 80s, and I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen an over under in the 70s, and he was saying it was probably low to mid 60s. So that sounds about right.
Yeah, there's no point in doing, like, if I did an over under say like 75, you would take the under.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
yeah,
it's just you can't call it. The best I could do is get somewhat close, but sometimes it's just teams just start scoring, and you can't help it.
How did your team do against the spread?
We were 7-5 against the spread.
Okay, 7-5. I'm going to ask you as we get ready to go into these game previews. I'm going to ask you to unveil your spreads and over-unders for those games. But if you have it handy, I might ask you also for those 6 teams how they did against the spread this season as well, as we go into those. Is that cool?
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Do we have time for me to go over some things that I just kind of pulled?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we got a few more minutes. We got like 3 more minutes, so it's all yours.
Okay. Well, so here's just fun stats, really. Home field advantage record, the home field Quince record was 92-40 this season, which after it started way high in like the 77%, it dropped down to 69.7, which is expected. We expected it to be around that 68-69%, and there it is. Some other stats, there was we run it's called Pythagoras' win projections. So it takes points for and points against, and it projects win totals. So the most overachieving team was actually St. Louis, who won 1.64 more games than was expected. And the most underachieving team was London, who lost 1.66 games more than expected.
Now, does that doesn't sound like a lot? Is that not a lot? Am I hearing that wrong?
It's generally going to be kind of close. I think also the fact of we're doing 12-week seasons and not 16 or 7 might change some things to a degree. There's just not a lot happening. But even then, it's things like Vancouver was second in underachieving at 1.44 below. But part of that was because they posted 76 points on Houston, so it skyrocketed their points for. And so then the formula thinks they should have been winning more games, but it's just because they scored a ton in one game, and they didn't get scored on by a lot. As far as Lone Star, you were overachieving by 0.36 games, so you were just about where you were supposed to be. And my personal Jacksonville team, we were +1 flat, so we did one game better than what our scores say we should have done.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like there's a lot of margin for error there, really.
No, there's really not, but it's just a fun little something to look at either way.
It is.
I will say when I do the spreads, I also have a simple Monte Carlo, which is basically a number simulator. So I've run 10,000 simulations based on teams, points for, points against, the standard deviation of points in games, and also home field and who has home field, and I have win percentages for the three games that we'll get into later.
Okay. Let me ask this last question real quick. Sorry, I got a couple guys on my on the I don't know, the producers here.
Yeah.
Eagle and Winkler dying to know how St. Louis did.
In regards to what?
Against the spread.
St. Louis was 4-8.
4-8.
Tied for 19th.
Okay.
20th.
There you go, Eagle. There you go. Be careful what you ask for. All right. Any last words real quick, and then we got to move on.
Let's see. I think that is about it. Other than as far as the ELO went, our best sheet went 95 and 37. And on average, we were about 92. About like 92 games were called correctly.
Okay.
And as across the three sheets, two of the sheets we had our third best season, and one sheet was our fourth best.
Okay. Overall, did you do better this season than last season?
Yes.
Okay.
Partly is due to how heavy home field was, but yes, we did do slightly better.
Interesting, because you would think with a more competitive league it would be harder, right?
Never doubt math.
And all right, dude, that's the quote. That's the quote we will end on. Don't ever doubt the math. Okay. Speaking of math, let's move on to some other numbers, like seedings, like wild card games. If you guys are watching your screens, you can see the schedule real quick. All the games are on Sunday, October 11th. That's this Sunday. They're all on 11 Sports and for the fans. First game is Atlanta at Vancouver at 2:30, Houston at Jacksonville at 4:30, and Lone Star at Florida at 6:30. It's now time to get busy. It's time get down to business. Let me get this little timer out of the way, and let's start talking about the game. So, The first game, like I mentioned, is, if I can pull it up, there we go. Atlanta at Vancouver. So you're going to see a lot of different slides, a lot of different graphics on your screen tonight. Wink went above and beyond the Call of Duty and added in team graphics as well, team stats. So we'll be popping those up as people are talking about their teams. Before they start, though, and I'll be starting with Coach first in the for Atlanta. Before I start this game, though, take a look at the stats. There's the records. Always remember when you're looking at these, the away team stats that's their for Atlanta. It's the away team. That's their stats when they're on the road. Vancouver, their stats when they're at home. These are not overall stats. So you can see how Atlanta plays on the road. You can see how Vancouver plays at home. For example, at home, Vancouver has a 60% third down conversion rate. That's not too shabby. On the road, Atlanta has 3 turnovers per game, that kind of thing. All right, so just want to make sure we're all in the same boat here before we move on. Coach and Jeff have this game. Coach, I'm going with you first with Atlanta. Break down Atlanta for us going into Vancouver, which I believe Vancouver is the hottest team. They're scoring at a record pace. They have crazy receivers and running back and the whole 9 yards. How does Atlanta go into Vancouver and stop them?
Well, Dave, I'm going to sound like a broken record because people have been asking the where's BDG all season long.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. Here's the key, and there's no other way around this, and I don't care what anyone says. Vancouver is a volume offense. 100% volume offense. The more opportunities you give them, the more points they score. And so you gotta control the clock. You gotta control the ball. And what better way to do that than with one of still the best running backs in the game, BDG Hollywood. They can do it on the swing pass. Like I know they've done a lot of that. And no disrespect to Dynasty, he put in a really good rookie season. But in the last 9 games, he's got 20 interceptions and 19 touchdowns. So he's underwater there. He started hot,
Right.
and then has been more average along the way. I just don't think it's fair to put it all on the shoulders of a rookie quarterback like that. You just can't do it. And there's no reason to do it when you have a guy like BDG Hollywood. Once again, volume offense. They're going up against a volume offense. Don't give them more opportunities. If you do that, it doesn't matter. You might get lucky, and Vancouver will be the turnover bug will happen. I mean, they don't worry about it. But that's what to me. Everything else is in place. They don't. Atlanta doesn't force a lot of turnovers, so they can't count on that being a big deal. So run the ball, control the ball. BDG should get 25, 30 touches, and that's how they get this thing done. Otherwise, I don't like their chances.
Well, check this out. So you guys can see on the graphic, BDG only rushed for 783 yards this season. But because I knew we were going to talk about this tonight, I also pulled up his receiving stats. He also had 124 receptions for 823 yards. So rushing and receiving combined, he was over 1,500, and he had another 7 touchdowns receiving for a total of 13. Here's the key thing that I saw, Coach, and then I'll let it get back to you. He only had 2 fumbles all year. 2 fumbles, that's it. The whole entire season.
Yeah.
Now, they lost both of them, but still, 2 fumbles over 12 games, not bad.
No, that's very good. And with as many touches as he had, that's very impressive. Absolutely. And I don't have a problem with, like you said, 1,500 yards, over 1,500 yards. That's fantastic. That really is. That's fantastic. I don't have a problem with that. But I still think there need to be a few more touches in the running game because he's still a threat.
Right.
He can take it. He can go yards with it every time.
Yep.
And I would just love to see 5 to 7 more carries. If that translates into a few fewer catches, that's fine. If not, that's fine too.
Well, and he is still the king of the spin cycle. So you put him out on the edge, whether he's catching or running, there's a good chance he can always break it.
Absolutely.
Well, let's bring Jeff into the conversation, and let's see what he has to say about Vancouver. And anything that you may have said right now. Benji, I'm sorry, Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, so let's start on the defensive side for Vancouver just to kind of segue in from what we're talking about there. So I think, the BDG conversation's been big, and we understand that it's very split, and he's doing well in the passing game. Issue is, defensively, the one thing that you can look at for Vancouver and say, ooh, maybe that's how I can attack them, is their rushing defense. That's the only thing that they have that falls close to being outside the top 10 as a team. So while BDG may get a lot of touches in a game, they're actually 5th best in passing yards allowed, with Adama out there with 5th in sacks. So giving them an opportunity to be where they're best at on defense is probably not the best way to use BDG. And I think we've seen a couple times, even though he's still getting those touches, that it's been an area where Atlanta's fallen behind a little bit compared to what we normally see out of him. This leads their defense to being 3rd best in points allowed. So I think, as Coach said, a volume offense, that it would be best suited for Atlanta to keep that offense off the field as much as they can. That probably won't come from turnovers. I think it's going to come from clock control. When you flip it over and look at Vancouver's offense, very consistent. They're 5th best in points per game. They have arguably the best wide receiver in the game, as they're 6th in passing, and Killian's 3rd in touchdowns. They're 4th in rushing, with Redford 3rd in touchdowns, so they can score at a pretty good clip. And yes, that last game, Tom Pepper coming in hot, 541 yards, 6 touchdowns. That's going to skew some things, I'm sure, but it's,
Well,
you want to be hot at the right time.
even without that last game, though, Jeff, he's still over 3,000 yards for the season.
Right.
So he's still been. I mean, just as far as throwing the ball, yards per attempt, all that, he's still been crushing it.
They're coming in 3 straight wins for the team right now.
Mm-hmm.
They never face Atlanta, so we don't know what it's going to look like up against each other. But coming in hot, playing at home in the playoffs. I don't normally go this way because I really felt like Atlanta was a sleeper, but I'm calling this at least a 7-point, and I wouldn't be surprised if this goes over a double-digit spread for Vancouver at home.
Wow. Well, one of the issues I do see with Pepper, he threw 7 more interceptions than he did touchdowns, where Dynasty is not upside down. He threw more touchdowns than interceptions. That could be...
Ball control.
Yeah.
That's going to be the key for Atlanta. If they can control that clock and keep the volume offense Coach talked about, you're 100% right. That's the key right there, is ball control.
Yeah, if Pepper throws a lot of interceptions, this could get very interesting. But, I mean, Vancouver just has so many weapons. And not that Atlanta doesn't. It's just Vancouver's been putting up the numbers this year, right?
Yep.
I agree. I agree with myself, apparently. Let's see. Let me go back to this overall graph. Actually, I want to go back to the Atlanta graph. So, Lee Adama, I think he's like 5th overall in sacks with 16. Josh Williams, he only has 9.5 sacks. So, pressure on the quarterback could come into play, too. What do you think? Jeff, first.
I think that's going to be the key here, and it's not to take anything away from Brian Dynasty. I think he's done more than any of us could have assumed in a rookie year. We all thought that this was going to be a struggle. We're going to see what's going to go for the rookie, and he came out of the gate slinging. He came out playing hard. He came out playing good. But it's the playoffs. It's the first run for him. Are there some jitters? That pass rush is going to be solid, and the thing is, it's going to be coming right up that middle on him.
Right.
That's not the place you want to see that rush coming on a quarterback. It's a lot harder to pick that up quickly.
Well, over 1,500 yards rushing for Redford, over 1,100 yards receiving for Killian. It could end up being a shootout, which transitions me to, let me get back to this graphic. You guys can see the rest of the team stats. Let me pull Hunter in here for a second. Hunter,
Yep.
It looks like this maybe could turn into a shootout. What does Jack's data say about the over-under?
We have 54.5.
A little lower than I thought. Real quick, let me ask you. I meant to ask you this earlier. Do you happen to know what was the average over/under this year? Would you say it was like low 50s, or what do you think?
Scoring averages stayed around 49.2, so we tended to stay around there. So it's probably like 50, between like 52 to 54.
Okay, so this is maybe right in that wheelhouse. You said 54.5. Is that what you said? I'm sorry.
Yeah, 54.5.
Okay, and then who do you have favorite? I'm assuming Vancouver, but I'm more interested in how much.
Vancouver minus 7.5.
Okay, Vancouver favored by 7.5 with an over/under 54.5. Coach, let me go back to you for a second. What do you think about Vancouver being favored by 7.5?
That sounds about right with what we've seen from them. I mean, they've just been so hot lately, and that's not even counting that last game, which is freakish.
Right.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You're looking at a 6-6 team that is backing into the playoffs because they did lose that last game to Queen City. So yeah, I like it. That's not what I would guess, and we all know I'm not a math guy. So.
Right. Okay, Jeff, what about you? What do you think about Vancouver being favored by 7.5?
I think it's perfect. I called 7, possibly double digits, so I think that falls right in line. Might as well just call it Jeff data from now on. You guys heard it here
There
first.
you go. Going from Jack's data to Jeff data. Always breaking news on Axis Live. What do you know? Speaking of breaking news on Axis Live, we have 2 other opinions on this game. I mentioned it. I kind of teased it in my announcement earlier today. We have a dynamic duo couple that might be ready to duke it out right now. So if you guys could please help me welcome Kendra and Nate Hall. Kendra, obviously from Atlanta, Nate from Vancouver. Kendra, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good. I don't agree with some of those stats, but I'll let you guys have it.
Okay. Nate, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing good, thanks. She's just jealous.
I get it. All right, Kendra, let me ask you. Why do you think Atlanta's going to win this game?
See, I think Atlanta's going to win because when Vancouver is pushed to the limit and is tested, they break every time. So I feel like Atlanta, we have a little better shot if we continue to push them that they're going to break and then break apart.
Wow. Nate, what do you have to say about that?
I just don't see us breaking. In Vancouver, we have a motto: "In Andy, we trust." I just trust our coach and our group of good scouts that we have to put us in the best position like they have all year for us to win this game.
Okay, so staying with you for a second, Nate. Andy is very experienced in this game, but so is Mark Chisholm, the head coach and owner of Atlanta, the defending champions. Do you think that is going to have any play into this game or any say-so?
I think it could. I've talked to Andy, and him and Mark go way back, and he was telling me about some of the stories too. But I just think we've got momentum on our side from the last 3 weeks, like you guys were talking about. 3 big wins, and we just got the momentum rolling through this weekend.
Okay. Kendra, what about you? You think experience is going to play into this? Atlanta, Mark, defending champion, been in the league for a while. What do you think?
I think it'll play, and I think it'll also play that Atlanta won the championship last year.
Right.
So it's not like we're new at this, but I have to make a comment. Nate is such a suck-up to Andy, so I'm not surprised with the whole "we trust Andy." But if you ask him, I'm very competitive, so if you ask him, he'll tell you he lost every time he goes up against me. That's why I'm not worried about Sunday.
Wow. All right, Nate, what do you have to say to that? And then we're going to move on.
Happy wife, happy life. That's all.
Awesome. You know what? I might come back to you two for the next 2 games, so stick around for me if you don't mind. All right, so
Absolutely.
To wrap up this first game, Kendra says Atlanta, Nate says Vancouver, Jack's data says Vancouver. The Who You Got, overwhelmingly 116 to only 79 for Vancouver as well. So SFL Nation, we are taking Vancouver. It looks like Nate is on an island all by himself tonight, pulling for Atlanta. Let's move on to the second wild card game of Houston at Jacksonville. Benji, I'm going to begin with you on this in a second, but one of the things that sticks out to me on this graphic that we're looking at right now, over 400 yards a game at home for Jacksonville. I think that's pretty huge. A lot of the other stats seem to be pretty close. You know, a little over 3 touchdowns versus 2.5. Third down is actually almost 60-40, which is kind of a big stat as well. That the other thing that kind of bugs me a little bit, points against 38 for Houston. As you see this graphic, before I switch over to your team graphic, anything else stand out to you, Benji?
These are pretty indicative of their their home and road splits. We know it's super difficult to go on the road, and now you're going on the road in the playoffs. Houston at 6-6, they've been up and down this year. Some good wins, some whoopsie losses.
Right.
So that's not too surprising. A few of those stats are a bit of eye turners, but Jacksonville's third down percentage is pretty great there.
Right.
But
kind of ridiculous. Well, as you look at Houston, tell me about Houston. Do you think they have a chance? Kentez, I believe, and I can look it up, but I think he tied for leading the league in interceptions. I'm going to look that up as you kind of break down Houston for us.
I think there's a 4-way tie for interceptions at 31, and
I think you're right.
At the end of the season. So Houston's profile, of course, 6-6 here. They snuck into the playoffs with that 11th seed. Home record 5-1, away record 1-5 this year. Their best win of the season, they beat Mexico City 42-31 in Week 5. At least I believe that was one of their strongest wins of the season. They followed that up with kind of a doinker in Week 6. The hard-charging Portland Fleet, they lost 17-20. So they have been up and down. They had a 3-game winning streak in the first half of the season. They had a 3-win streak in the back half of the season. Against playoff teams, they are 2-4. Their 2 victories, Mexico City and Lone Star Glory. And those 2 wins were at home for Houston. Against the playoff teams, when they played on the road this year, 0-3. And those games were Week 4 against Florida, Week 7 against Baltimore, they lost 14-47. And then last week against Vancouver, 13-76 there. Matchup history here. Jacksonville's won the previous 2 meetings. Both of those, Jacksonville won on the road, strangely enough. Overall series here, Houston is 4-5 against Jacksonville, but Houston has never won in Jacksonville, which is an interesting.
That is a very interesting stat. Yeah.
Stat. So, and they're with their road record 1-5 this season, playing 500 ball. You know, it looks like the deck stacked against them here. They had this strange game last week against Vancouver, which, I mean, it's a game. It counted. There are stats. There were a lot of stats. It's just a loss and loss column for Houston. But it was just an awkward game. But Houston is full of playmakers. They got a lot of talent on this team. So I think that there is a script here in this game where Houston can beat Jacksonville. And I think it starts with Warren Murray. Mm-hmm. In Houston's losses this year, Warren Murray's averaged 96 yards on the ground. In his wins, the 6 wins, he's averaged 189 yards, and that is including one game where he went out after 3 carries with an injury. He had 8 yards in that game. So even with that game of 8 yards, he's still averaging 189 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns per game in Houston victories. In 3 weeks in a row, weeks 9 through 11, when they won these 3 games in a row, he rushed for 6 touchdowns and 765 yards. London was one of those victims there. He decimated us, and he ran over the other 2 teams in that 3-game stretch there.
You think there's what do you make of DR Sim kind of taking a step back this season? Leroy Brown over 1,000 yards, but DR Sim only about 700 yards receiving.
Well, you can't, are you gonna count him out? You can't count him out.
No, I'm just saying.
When,
is he getting old? Is he at the end of his career? I mean, you know, is Leroy Brown the new guy in Houston? What's the deal there?
Well, that's hard to say, but we know DR Sim's one of the best receivers in the league, and Leroy Brown had a fantastic season this year. And you know, when you're on defense and you're game planning for someone like a Gabriel Manning, you know, that's easy. Well, no, it's not easy to game plan for Gabriel Manning, but when you're game planning against a strong number 1 wide receiver and you're thinking about those coverages and whatnot, this is true in the NFL too. When defenses are focusing on that number 1 wide receiver, that number 2, more often than not, steps up. And defenses, when they're busy accounting for that number 1, that number 2 starts producing. And Leroy Brown's had a fantastic year. I think the game script for Houston has just been odd this season. And so DR Sim, down in stats, but he's the capable receiver he's always been. And no one would be surprised if, you know, just for for fun's sake here, no one would be surprised if in the game this weekend, DR Sim goes off, for
Yeah.
instance. You have to account for him on the field. And accounting for where I was going with this earlier was, Kentez Johnson threw 8 interceptions last week. He's had a 4 interception, 5 interception, 6 interception, and an 8 interception game. And no one can overcome turnovers like that in a game, especially in the SFL. So I think the script is Warren Murray needs to get the ball early, and Houston can't afford to play from behind. This defense is a ball hawking defense, second in the league with 32 with their takeaways. 34 takeaways, which is good for second in the league. And despite all the turnovers from Kentez Johnson, Houston still has a +2 turnover differential here. So this defense is helping keeping them in these games. Maybe not so much last week, but I think the script is here. They're playing Jacksonville. Christensen has also had a few interception games this year. I mean, he's had games where he's tossed 3, 5, and 6 turnovers. So I think that Houston's got a good defense. Yeah, they're playing on the road, but if that defense can play playoff caliber football and they can take the ball away from Jacksonville, I mean, if Jacksonville was smart, they would, make sure they're running that ball too. But if something happens and Christensen gets off kilter and throws a couple picks, and Houston doesn't have to play from behind, there is a script there. We're leaning on Warren Murray and then hitting these excellent targets on the outside. Leroy Brown, DR Sim. There's a script where Houston sticks around in this thing.
Well,
and it's a potential Hollywood script out there, but it could happen.
It could happen.
I think that,
but
the deck's stacked against them for sure.
I
think
so too.
If they're going to win, it's going to happen.
And here's the thing: Kentez is in the same situation as Peppers. And let me get ready to get Thomas in here to talk about Jacksonville, because Kentez, 31 interceptions, tied for the league. And on the flip side, Thomas, Jacksonville has, Hunter Norwood, one of the best sackers in the game. If he puts a lot of pressure on him throughout the game, Kentez could throw a lot of interceptions. What do you think?
I tell you what, Dave, this is a game that's going to be hard to guess. A lot of people are going to come into this saying, "Oh yeah, Jacksonville's got this game wrapped up," and I want to be one of those people, being completely honest with you. I think Jacksonville's going to win by a lot, but there's a lot of different factors that could come into play here, because you look down the line, and Jacksonville is a great team at home, but they're not a team that gets a lot of takeaways at home. They're averaging 1.5 takeaways at home, so I don't think interceptions is going to be one of those things that's going to factor into the game as much. I think one of the big things is going to be that pass rush they got going with Taquan Hale and Hunter Norwood. Both guys in I believe, the top 5 in sacks. Taquan Hale with 17.5, Hunter Norwood with 16.5. Both of them around 20 tackles for loss. So those guys on that defensive line are going to bring a lot of pressure. They're going to make it hard on Kentez and that passing game to get it going. So I think it's going to be one of those games where if Houston gets down early, they're going to be in a lot of trouble, because they're going to have to lean on Kentez, and he's just going to be under pressure all night.
Right. We've heard a lot about Murray this year, but Jared Willis is no slouch either.
No, not at all. Jared Willis was one of the top 5 running backs as well, going for 1,372 yards and 14 touchdowns. So it's definitely a matchup of 2 great running backs. Both quarterbacks had decent seasons as well, but again, Kentez had all those interceptions, and Christensen had a couple rough games there with interceptions. I think home field is definitely going to play a big factor in this one. Jacksonville's been a great team at home, averaging over 400 yards a game, averaging over 30 points per game, and giving up less than 20. They're actually one of the best home team defenses in the league. So I think home field is definitely going to help Jacksonville. They play great at home, and they just haven't really lost too many notable games at home. For me, the only one I can think of a notable game they lost at home was against Louisiana, and I mean, who's going to fault them for losing a game against Louisiana, the 2 seed? So it's going to be a great game. As Benji said, I think there are scripts out there where Houston could pull this out, but I think it's going to take a strong running game, and they're going to need to stay in it the whole game, because if they go down early, they're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, they're going to have to play from behind. They're going to throw the ball a lot. Let me ask Hunter real quick. Hunter, is this one going to be a shootout? What's the over-under on this game?
This is the shootout. 62.5.
62.5. Okay, so that's well over the average. And I'm assuming Jacksonville is favored, but by how much?
7.5
Ooh, the same as
for
Vancouver
Jacksonville.
over Atlanta. Interesting. I thought this would be a bigger spread, actually.
Thought about it, but felt like bad juju, you know.
Right. Before I get over back to Benji and Thomas to see what they think about your numbers, let me see if Kendra and Nate are available again. Kendra, are you still with us?
I am, yes.
Who do you think's going to win this game, Houston to Jacksonville?
I have Jacksonville.
Okay. Any particular reason? You just think they're the better team? What do you think?
I think they've played strong this year, so I think they have nothing to worry about.
Okay. Nate, what about you?
I'm going to have to agree with this one, Jacksonville, on this because what she didn't tell you is we have a good friend on the defensive side on Jacksonville, Mike Ale, if you're listening, shout out. Has been playing well this season. I think Jacksonville has the edge.
Okay. Benji, going back to you for last thought on this game, what do you think about the 7.5 point spread for Jacksonville? Too low?
No, I think that's about right. I think I could see a situation where maybe Jacksonville is up a bit more than that, but Houston's trying to come back at the end, gets another score to bring it close, something like that too. But
okay,
I don't disagree with that spread.
Okay, Thomas, what about you?
Jacksonville is hungry, and I don't agree with the 7.5 point spread. I see Jacksonville. You know me, Dave, with the bold predictions. I see Jacksonville winning this game by 20 points.
Wow. All right. I'm writing that down so we can talk about it next week. Thomas, 20 points. Okay. Moving on to the last wild card game, which I think everybody would agree is probably going to be the closest game. At least it is on paper. At least it is in the stats. These stats are nearly identical in almost every category except for maybe one or two. Lone Star is obviously a better home team than their away team. I believe Florida was 5-1 or 4-2 at home this season. So I think this is going to be a real close game. We were trying to drag this out to see if we could get Eddie Gage on, but looks like Eddie is delayed. So we're going to pull in a sub. I'm going to go to the bullpen and see if I can get Eagle Mondavi to talk about Lone Star for me today instead. Eagle, you with us?
Yeah, I'm here, Dave. How you doing?
All right, I'm doing great. Thanks for filling in for Eddie. Really appreciate it. Before I move over to the Lone Star graphic, anything on this one really jump out at you other than the fact that almost everything's even?
I I think it's even, but I also think Lone Star here, this is a revenge game for them for earlier in the season, that overtime loss that you guys had against them.
That's a great point. All right, well, break down Lone Star for us.
Well, I mean, first off, you've got Adam Williams, right? In my opinion, he is a great shout for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Over 1,000 yards for a tight end. You know, this year has been throw the ball to the tight ends. Mike Daggs has been Adam Williams, fantastic. Easily the best receiving option out of the rookie class, in my opinion. Ike McBride has been fantastic for you guys. The defensive side, it's going to be, you need to control Doyle. I mean, Doyle's been okay. He's been lower on the edge. But you got Jukenrukin, Gunny, who's been doing fantastic. Wally, kickers matter.
Right.
I mean, you guys lost by 3 points. Wally hasn't missed a field goal all year. So it's...
Yeah, if we win that coin flip, Florida could be playing at Lone Star on Sunday.
No, I agree with you. Without question. To me, this, as I said on Tuesday, that this is the closest game for the weekend, in my opinion. But for me, I'm on Lone Star's side this weekend. It's kind of a revenge game. Ace is going to have to, kind of play a slower game. You don't want Ace to go crazy with his interceptions. You want to have him positive on the touchdowns. I'm sorry, by the end of this game. Maybe feed you a little bit of the ball. I haven't seen you get too many lately. Dave, what do you think?
Last few games, but that's okay, bro. At the end of the day, I'm a team player, and you know what? All I care about is winning. So if Adam and Hammer are catching the balls and we're winning, I'm cool with it. Dave, have you seen some of those outside blocks I've been laying down? How about that?
Yeah, because they can't see you because you're short. That's why.
Where's
No,
Eddie Gage when I need him?
No, you don't want Eddie Gage because Eddie Gage will be still talking about Lone Star from 4 weeks ago, and then in 50 minutes it will
Hey.
still be 4 weeks ago Lone Star.
Don't be a hater because Eddie loves Lone Star. Why don't we get
No,
back
I'm
to
not
Why
a-
don't we get back to you
Oh.
loving Lone Star this weekend?
I'm not a hater at all, but going back a little bit, you guys have 22.75 points. That's what you've allowed this year on average for home and away games. You need to keep it right around that 21, 22 points to have a shot, in my opinion.
Well, let me
Any
go back
more-
to that graphic and see what our away stat is real quick as you're saying that. So points for on the road, we score 21 and we give up only 14. Am I reading that right? But Florida,
No.
but Florida
you give
scores
up
23.
You give up 27 on the road.
Oh yeah, right. My bad. Yeah, so that's not
you
good.
need to keep. Yeah, you want to keep it right around that 21 points. That's you want to keep. I think it's going to be a field goal game like your first game. Ike and Cameron Collier, fullbacks. Like, you guys have been fantastic, splitting the time between the two of them. Cameron's been fantastic over the last second half of the season.
Speaking of that, let me interject because I did this research too today because I noticed that Ike only has 830 yards rushing and 8 touchdowns, but Cam had another 469 yards rushing and another 5 touchdowns. So if you combine our running game, we're right there with some of these big running backs, about 1,300 yards and 13 touchdowns.
Yeah, no, but in my opinion, it's nice to have 2 options than 1 option, right? So if you game plan for 1 option, it's easy to. But if you have, Ike and Cameron, who you don't know who's going to get the ball, and they've both been fantastic over these last few weeks, it's harder to game plan as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let me bring in Tyler here real quick and see what he has to say about Florida, or if he agrees that this is a good revenge game for Lone Star. Tyler, what do you think?
So, I don't know if chat remembers, but I came on for my first ever appearance on this show, and I had said that everyone was thinking, oh, it's going to be a home sweep, and I was one of the people to say, you know what, I don't think so. I think Lone Star has got a chance. And then I took a deep dive. Into Florida and what they bring to the table. As we all know, they started very poorly. The first third of the season, going 1-3, but the rest of the way going 6-2. There's a lot of heart on this team. Definitely that 44-41 game against Lone Star Glory in Week 5.
Yeah.
Just remember that was on the road.
Yep.
That was one of their 2 games they won on the road.
And Lone Star's only loss, by the way, only home loss.
Right. And just to clarify that, there's also 5. Florida's 5-1 at home as well.
Okay.
So they're very good at home, and it's going to be a tough test for Lone Star coming in. Just going to go into a thing I call 3-2-1. We're going to start with 3 good things. The defense. This defense is legit. They are second in the league in points allowed with a 20.58 average. They're first in passing touchdowns allowed. Fourth in passing yards allowed with 231. They are 6th in takeaways, led by Ryan Torben with 12 pass deflections. That makes him the 5th in terms of all safeties in the league. He also has 7 interceptions. Ryan Davidson, the cornerback, has 10 pass deflections and 9 interceptions. That makes him tied second for any defensive backfield or any person on the defense. And then they have a very stout defensive line led by Raymond Jones III with 20 tackles for loss. That makes him tied for 5th. And then you have to give credit to Alex Dominguez with 15. The second good thing is there's a more balanced attack in Florida. We've known for a while that Florida is a passing team. For the last couple of years now, they've been a passing team. Just looking at J.W. Doyle's numbers from at least the last 2 seasons, 700 rushing yards and 547 yards respectively. That's good enough for 3.5 yards per carry in season 13 and 3.2 yards per carry in season 14. He was also targeted not a whole lot in the passing game those last 2 seasons. This season, however, it's all been on the upswing here for J.W. Doyle. He's got 878 rushing yards with a 4 yards per carry average, and he's been targeted almost twice as many times as last season. So last season he was targeted 35 times. He was targeted and caught 69 of those of his passes. And then there's this one more good bit that I have to talk about, and it has to be that Ron Cochran is a playoff quarterback. His regular season stats aren't that all great. He can contend with Jameis Winston for having a turnover factory with all the interceptions he's throwing in the regular season.
Tied for the lead in interceptions, yeah.
Exactly. But when you look at his playoff record and all his stats in the playoffs, there's no other way to explain it. He is a playoff quarterback. He's won 3 championships for a reason. Just the QBR. He has about an 85 QBR for the regular season throughout his entire career. He has 103 QBR through the playoffs. He is a dynamic player in the playoffs, and Florida will need him to do that. I've got 2 areas of concern, though. So this is my number 2. Turnovers. I mentioned earlier, Ron Cochran has thrown 31 interceptions in the past 2 seasons. Both seasons he's thrown 31 interceptions. They're also -2 in the take give. They might be taking away the ball on defense,
but they're
giving it right back on the other side of the football.
Yeah.
And of the playoff teams, Ron Cochran is the most sacked QB in the SFL. The other point I'm going to make here is the run defense. The Storm are tied with the most rushing touchdowns allowed amongst the SFL teams for the season. And among playoff teams, the Storm have allowed the second most average rushing yards in the SFL. Let's just take a couple games here. Week 7 versus Las Vegas, they gave Scott Johnson 207 yards and he got 3 TDs. Week 11 against Charleston, Keith Swearingen 107 yards and 3 touchdowns. Week 3 versus Vancouver, Robert Redford 181s and 2 touchdowns. And you can just see the trend of in all their losses, they gave up over 100 yards rushing. It's a very, very staggering number. And I'll leave you with this. One plan of attack here for Florida. If Florida wants to win this game, they will need the defense to be good, not just in the pass, but in the run department. They will need a solid all-around performance from J.W. Doyle. But most crucially, and the thing that Florida will live and die by this postseason, is if Ron Cochran can be the playoff quarterback we know he can be. Can the offensive line protect him, or will we see another performance from Cochran?
Yeah, I'm trying to look and see. Do you happen to see how many times he's been sacked this season?
I have 30, the stats.
Looks like 33. Is that right?
33.
Yeah, 33. Yep. Okay. Well, that's good for Juke and Rukin then, I guess. Before I come back to you and Eagle real quick, let me shoot over to Hunter. Hunter, in this Lone Star at Florida game, I'm guessing this is probably the lowest over/under. What do you think? Am I on track with that?
Yeah. So we have 51.5 for over/under.
Okay, so that's kind of lower than normal. And then, what do you have this? Is this a pick 'em, a 1 point? What do you think?
We actually have Florida by 2.5.
Oh, killing me. Absolutely killing me right now. All right. So basically, if Lone Star wins by a field goal, then there you go. Florida doesn't cover. Beautiful. Let me see if Kendra and Nate are still with us. Kendra, are you still around?
Yep, I'm here.
All right. Lone Star at Florida. Close game. It's going to be a close call. Who do you got?
I have Lone Star.
Atta girl. I knew I liked having you on this show. Nate, what about you?
I'm going to have to go Florida. I think it was Jeff in the chat earlier said that they've only lost 1 game at home all season, and that was the very first game of the season.
Okay.
Ever since then,
I'm sorry, Nate. Go ahead.
I was going to say, ever since then, they've just been winning at home, and I'm going to call it just a 1-point win for Florida at the eye.
Okay. I am now officially Team Kendra after that. Let's see here. Eagle, you still?
Oh yeah, I'm still here.
Well, I think 2.5 is probably. You're probably going to think that that's probably pretty fair. What do you think?
No, I agree. It's going to go back to kind of, I think, a flip of the score for your earlier game. Field goal, Wally, off an interception. Thomas Smith is going to get an interception again because the guy won me money in the survivor pool, and Wally's going to get a field goal to win the game.
All right, Tyler. you got the last word on this game. What do you think about Florida being favored by 2.5?
Another little tidbit about Ron Cochran. In each of his playoff seasons, each time he was in the playoff, he had a better touchdown to interception ratio. Last 2 seasons, last season he was in the playoffs, had 15 touchdowns, 31 interceptions. He's had 31 interceptions, and he's had less touchdowns this year. I see Lone Star taking it by 7.
Wow, look at you. Atta boy. Real quick, I forgot to tell the who you got real quick. In the Houston-Jacksonville game, 156-34 for Jacksonville. And in this game, SFL Nation doubling up on Florida, 124-66. So not a whole lot of love for Lone Star. Gunny, are you with us?
Always.
Always. Atta boy. You can go whenever you're ready.
All right. Good evening, SFL. Don't forget, tomorrow night, the SFL Minors Season 2 kicks off with 2 games at 6:30 and 2 games at 9:30. Some new voices to listen to, Tyler Falk and Chad Knowles. Also, some old-timer folks like Wade Phillips and Jack Brown are also going to be in the broadcast booth for some of these minor league games. 5 teams are in the playoffs that missed the playoffs last season. Denver finished 14th last season. They're the number 1 seed. Florida, they're the number 8 seed. They finished 12th last year. Lone Star, when we were Seattle, we were 15th, and now we're 9th. Houston was 19th seed, and they are 11th. The last time Denver was in the playoffs, they were the season 13 champions. The last time Louisiana, which was the New Orleans Pharaohs, they were in season 12. They were the 6th seed. Florida was in season 13, the number 6 seed. Again, Seattle was season 13, number 2 seed. They were runner-up in the championship game to Denver. And Houston's last playoff appearance was season 13, the number 10 seed. Good luck to everyone in the playoffs this weekend. And with that, that is all.
All right. Thank you, Gunny. Appreciate it. Always appreciate it. You always got the great data, the great stats. I don't know. We heard Jeff data. Maybe it's going to be Gunny data, too. Let's see what happens with that. Moving on to the segment that we call Diva of the Week. We will continue this into the playoffs, just so you know. But for the final regular season game for Week 12, we had 7 nominees. The voting was so close. There were 3 people within a couple votes right down to like the last half hour. But one person emerged, just barely squeaking it out above the other 2, and that person is your Diva of the Week for Week 12, and it is Tom Pepper, which I gotta say is probably pretty fitting for the game that he had. It was a record-breaking game for him. Tom had hockey tonight. His game was at the exact time as the show, so he was unable to make it. However, Mike Percoco, his teammate, is here to accept this award on his behalf. Coco, what's up?
Oh, Canada,
Oh, God.
our home native land. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing pretty good. I don't know. You and AJ may have to do a duet on here, maybe. I don't know. Did you have a chance to talk with Tom at all? I got to DM with him, but did you get a chance to talk to him?
I did. He gave me the usual spiel about thanking everybody and his teammates.
Okay.
And to plug his Twitter handle at Tom Pepper.
Awesome. All right. So Twitter handle at Tom Pepper. You want to stick around with us to do the pick'ems real quick on his behalf?
Love to.
Okay. All right. Let's whip through these pick'ems so we can get on to the minor league stuff in the after dark. We are running a little behind on time. So everybody that I ask, don't give me any more data. Don't give me any more information. Just tell me who you think is going to win and who's going to lose. And we'll start with Thomas. So Thomas, Atlanta at Vancouver.
Vancouver.
Vancouver. Coach.
Vancouver.
Vancouver. Eagle.
Vancouver.
Vancouver. Jeff.
Vancouver.
Vancouver. Benji.
Vancouver.
All right. Tyler.
Vancouver.
Kendra, you still with us?
Yep, I'm still here.
All right. I guess I can write down Atlanta for you.
Yes.
All right. Hunter, you still around?
Yeah, Vancouver.
Vancouver. Okay. Let me see. Gunny, you still here?
Yes.
Who do you got?
Atlanta, you know why.
I know why. Let's see. Is Wink gonna get on this? No, he's not in here. Coco, go ahead.
Your opponent, Atlanta.
Atlanta. Coco, you there? I
Yeah,
couldn't hear you.
I said never doubt your opponent, Atlanta.
Oh, there you go. All right, perfect.
I'm getting in on this.
All right, Wink, go ahead, buddy.
Atlanta.
Atlanta. Okay. Thomas, second game. Houston at Jacksonville.
Hold on. You
Oh.
forgot a couple people.
Who'd I forget?
You forgot Nate. You forgot
Oh.
Tyler.
Oh, wait. Where's Nate's name? No, I asked Tyler already. Oh, there's Nate's name.
Oh.
I already got Taylor.
Nate.
Nate, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Nate, Atlanta
Yeah.
at Vancouver. I forgot one person. Come on.
Coco, I am offended that you chose Atlanta, but I'm going Vancouver all the way.
All right. There you go. Now can I start over, Eagle?
Yeah, you're good now.
All right,
I just
thank
wanted
you.
to make
Appreciate
Vancouver got to
appreciate
say
it.
Vancouver on the air. That's all.
Okay. Thomas, second game. Houston at Jacksonville.
Jacksonville by a lot.
Okay. Coach,
Jacksonville.
Eagle.
I agree with Thomas. Jacksonville by a lot.
Okay. Jeff,
Jacksonville by a lot.
Benji,
Saxonville.
Tyler.
Duval, Jacksonville.
Okay. Nate, let's go to you now so I don't forget you again.
It's quite all right. I'm going Jacksonville by 14.
Okay. Kendra,
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville. Hunter,
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville. Gunny,
Jacksonville.
Coco,
Jacksonville.
and Wink.
Wow. Well,
Clean sweep?
no, because I think the defensive rookie of the year is going to show up and going to put a stun on Jacksonville. I'm going Houston.
Okay. All right. Thomas, last game. Do I even have to ask you? Lone Star at Florida.
Lone Star, you know.
I know. Coach.
Yeah.
All right. Eagle.
Lone Star.
Boy. Jeff. Jeff.
Fortunately, Florida.
Florida. Benji.
I'm going to go Florida too.
Okay. Tyler.
Lone Star and a walk-off touchdown.
Ooh, nice. Nate.
Florida
Yep.
by 1.
Kendra, you said Lone Star, right?
Yep. Lone Star.
Okay. Hunter. What's the Jack's data guy got to say about this?
Florida, because they got to play us in the finals.
All right. Gunny.
Bodacious and Murtis are on the team playing with us to Florida.
Boom. There you go. And Coco.
Lone Star intercepting every 5 wide.
Awesome. And Wink. Last one.
Give me the glory.
That boy, that's what I like to hear. All right, so real quick, Tyler, I'm going to give you just a few minutes, and because I want to get back on the timing. And Ethan's already in the thing in the waiting room. It looks like Cam and DC are not going to make it, so I'm going to give you about 3 or 4 minutes to tell us what you would like to tell us about hold on. There you go. About this weekend's opening weekend on Friday for the SFL Minor League.
Well, we've got a good one on tap for the opening weekend for Season 2 of the Simulation Football Minor League. Kicks off tomorrow at 6:30 Eastern with me and Chad on the call. That's one of 2 games that I'll be calling, both here on Twitch. At the Simulation Football League Twitch channel. The other 2 games got a good matchup with Ottawa and Annapolis, and Tacoma and Memphis, both on the Simulation Football YouTube channel. Gerald and Benji have the call for the first game on YouTube, and Jack Brown and Ramos Lynn have the call for the second game. Some things to know about the Simulation Football Minor League. From Season 1 to Season 2 is the Madison Lynx were the Season 1 champions, and they look to have a good campaign and develop some more high-quality players in order to make themselves champions again. Their defense has Julian Vallier, who's with a second year at the team. He's got 21 tackles, 4 assists, 4 pass deflection, interception, and a fumble recovery. Look for him to lead the way on the Madison Lynx defense. As far as other stout defenses go, look no further than the San Jose Flight. Their record from last year might look a little suspect, but they have 3 returning defensive players in Gary Clem, the linebacker, Devin King, the linebacker, Josh Centeni at cornerback. Those 3, mark my words, will have a great minor league campaign and should go within the first 2 rounds of this upcoming draft. As far as some other new things to look out for, we have 3 new teams: the Memphis River Runners, the Salt Lake City Rustlers, and the Tacoma Grizzlies. 2 teams bowed out due to some conflicts and some other things. That would be the Lincoln Rattlesnakes and the Boise Mud Dogs. Those 2 have left, and some of the players that stayed behind have gotten to move to different teams, such as JQ, the number 1 rated overall player in the minor league. This is his first year, of course, with Tacoma. He completed 62% of his passes for 1,026 yards. He threw 5 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. He was sacked 9 times. And that's about it for JQ. Look for him to go probably within the first 10 picks and probably to one of the 2 expansion franchises as they'll look to expand around him. Let's go to the Birmingham Fuel. Riley Quintero is a stud wide receiver. Look for him to have a good campaign. And we've got a lot of good new players as well. There was some conflict with... Let me just find his name here because I told him I would remember that in the chat. Because if I don't know if you guys have checked it out already, but there was a top 30 players in the Simulation Football Minor League, and one of the players that was not mentioned was, I'm having a hard time finding, Tom Krieg of the Birmingham Fuel. He is the number 1 rated overall strong safety, and he was left out of the chat.
Wow.
Look for him to try and make a standout performance week 1 and thereafter.
Okay.
So,
that all you got? You good? You nailed it on the timing.
Yep, I think that's everything.
Okay,
yeah.
Perfect. I just have 2 things to add real quick. First thing is Go Flight, and the second thing is I just found out from Kendra, the funny thing is not only are they playing each other in the playoffs, their minor league teams are going against each other tomorrow as well. So the Hall House is going to be very interesting over the next few days, that's for sure. All right, moving into our After Dark segment. We have somebody that everybody knows. He is the best uniform designer in the SFL. He's also the GM and the defensive coordinator for Houston. Ethan Kai is with us, and he's going to talk about his expansion bid for season 16. Ethan, thanks for coming on the show. How you doing? Are you there?
Thanks for having.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Perfect. First thing, kind of just give us an overview of like the name of the team, the logo, the colors. Give us the broad strokes real quick.
Well, the colors are green, yellow, and white. The team's name is the Washington Thunderbirds, and I do mean Washington State. The colors are drawn from Washington State flag.
Okay. Why the Thunderbird?
It's we have a very strong Native American population in Washington, and it's more of an ode to them. I have Native Americans in my family.
Okay.
It's a strong, powerful, mythical bird.
There you go. That's another good reason. Are you a solo owner? Do you have anybody that's coming in with you on the bid, or is it just going to be you?
Just me.
For as far as ownership goes, I meant, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's just...
do you already have a list of, GMs, coaches, other people that are going to be helping you get this thing going?
I have a list of potentials.
Right.
Nothing set in stone because I don't know how things will pan out.
Right. What about as far as what you've done so far? Have you had some help? Have you had some good talks with some owners? How's that process been going?
I've had some really good talks with owners. I've talked with Jacob Bouvet. I've talked with Max Paul, owner of the Storm, Jacob Vet, owner of Portland. Sorry, I'm outside.
That's okay.
I have had talks with the Predators, Alan, and I have been getting my graphic designs from Grizzly.
Oh, okay. Oh, good. Yeah. So you've got some really good help in getting all this together. That's good. I'm gonna open this up to some questions here to a couple people, but before I do that, take us over kind of your team philosophy and what you're hoping to build and what what you want your locker room to be like.
I just want people to be honest, be transparent, and do the best that you can do.
That's good. Let me see. I'm gonna see here. Sorry, I meant to ask if anybody in the chat has any questions for Ethan or any comments. Go ahead and at Winkler. He will get them to me, and then we will get your question asked. Maybe potentially bring you on to ask him personally if we have some room with the big panel we have today. If anybody else that's on the panel right now, before I ask him the next question, if you guys have a question or comment, go ahead and type it in the show chat, and and I'll get to you as well. Ethan, give us just your SFL history and background from the time you started to now.
I was drafted 8th overall by the St. Louis Gladiators as a strong safety. I started out as a low copper. Then I asked how I could help my team out and got into scouting. And before the end of the season, I was assistant defensive coordinator with Dwayne Schindler.
Hmm.
And then the next season, I was head coach, defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, helped out a little bit with the recruiting and getting players in. Season 13, I took off. Season 14, I left St. Louis, went over to Houston to be DC and co-GM. And then this season, I have been DC and GM.
Okay, wow. So you've got the coaching experience and the front office experience. So you've been everywhere. There's a question in the chat. It looks like it's from Kendra Hall. I can't remember. Did you put an expansion bid in last year, or you were going to and you didn't? Refresh our memories on that. I can't remember.
Yeah, I did. And when I was on Ashley's show earlier this season, I mentioned I was going to be the Honolulu Eclipse, but then I started rethinking and about what my state has and what I could bring to the league with what I have here, because, well, I have a little more opportunity to try to get some sponsors.
Oh, okay. Oh, in Washington versus Honolulu. Gotcha. Okay. Another question. Oh, actually, I didn't even ask the question, did I? I needed your background first. So Kendra wants to know what made you want to help expand the league. What made you want to become an owner and run a franchise to make the league, bigger and better?
That's a really good question. I've always liked the SFL when I first joined up. The person that brought me in was Ryan Michaels. I'm sure a lot of the older generation knows who he is. He was also assistant DDP.
Oh, okay.
And he got me into it, and I was eager to help out where I can. I was doing beat writing. I wrote a lot of the season 11 rookie articles. And
oh, are you there? Did we lose you?
I have a child.
Oh, there you go. What's that?
My son's trying to talk to me.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, that's no worries at all, bro. No worries on that. There is another question in the chat. Why would a rookie want to start a career as a Thunderbird, and talking about the draft kind of over any of the other teams in the league? What's the draw to come into Washington versus other teams as a rookie in the draft?
You get to help build a new franchise into something big.
Yeah, from the ground up, right? I mean, that's a lot of people like to do that. So you're right. That is a great draw. Let me throw it out to the panel here real quick. Any panelists and I know maybe some of you might have asked the last time we had somebody on. Anybody have a question for Ethan before I continue? I don't want to leave you guys in the dark at all.
After dark.
Heyo. Hey, don't everybody speak up at once.
No, you asked my question, so I'm.
Oh, was that
I'm
your?
good for
Was
it.
that you in the chat? Okay, got it. Anybody else?
No, that was mine in the chat, but you asked one earlier, so.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I should have gone to you guys before I started asking all the questions. I don't know. Anybody else? Benji, Coach. Anybody else in there? Gunny, you got anything for him? Well, that's a cool.
Hey, Ethan, good luck to you. I know this year, I'm sure you got a little bit more confidence now that this is your next attempt that you had last year. So you got the experience under your belt. So I wish you good luck.
Thanks, Gunny.
Anybody else? You got anything for Ethan before I continue? Quiet crowd tonight, bro. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Well, real quick, tell us about your family. You said you got a kid. Tell us about your family real quick.
I'm not married. I'm actually divorced.
Mm-hmm.
I've been dating a girl for my fiance for close to 8 years. I have one 9-year-old with my ex-wife. I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Okay.
And my player's name is named after my firstborn and my second.
Oh, really? Ethan Kai?
Yep.
That's
Firstborn is Ethan. My secondborn is Kai.
Oh, that's perfect. That's great. I love when people do that. I just got another question in the chat from Greg Soto. What position does Ethan think is key when building a new team? What are you going to try to build your team around?
I want a couple strong offensive core and pretty stout D.
And you cut out at the end, and a pretty stout D. Is that what I heard?
Defensive core.
Oh, defensive core. There you go. Okay. All right. Good. As far as real life experience goes with football or other sports, what do you have as far as that goes?
I played football in middle school all 3 years that I went to school.
Okay.
Back then it was sixth grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. I played semi-pro for the Snohomish County Thunder.
Oh.
That ended after a car wreck and when I broke my kneecap.
Oh, ouch. Yeah, hard to play football with a broken kneecap, bro.
Yeah, that's when I hung up
really
the
hard.
cleats. I have broke my hand, my knee, and my foot playing football.
Ouch. And it ended up being a car accident that kept you out.
That just hurt my back. It was the next season I came down on frozen turf just on my knee.
Ouch. See, that's why I don't live in the cold, bro. I can't deal with that. I lived in Southern California my whole life, and now I live in Tennessee. I don't have to deal with any of that cold and snow and stuff. So more power.
We don't have much snow here. It's usually rain.
Oh, that's probably even worse, that much rain. Real quick, let me ask the panel again before we start wrapping this up. I got a couple more questions, but let's see. Let me go to the panel. Trying to pull this up. Anybody else got anything? Coach, Benji, anybody? Norwood, Tyler?
I got one, Dave.
Go ahead.
If you put all the expansion team hopeful mascots in a cage match, would the Thunderbirds win?
I don't know. I think it'd be a tie between the Lycans.
Yeah, the Lycan's going to be hard to beat. It's a freaking werewolf.
Yeah, but a Thunderbird can fly.
They're two different things.
Oh,
Lycans and werewolves are different.
Okay, but but they're similar. And yes, a Thunderbird can fly. I get that.
And it also can shoot lightning out of its face.
Which would set
boom
ablaze.
So
Thunderbolt.
Ethan, look at all this.
But you need a silver bullet to get rid of a werewolf.
Yeah, I don't think a Thunderbird could shoot a freaking silver bullet at anybody.
No, but it could drop one on it. There's a key word you're all missing here. There's a cage involved here.
Hey,
so
we need to
you
see
can only
the
fly
silver
so high.
lining. Gotta see the silver lining.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we got
I
that
think-
covered.
I think this is perhaps how expansion teams should be awarded. It's just a cage match.
Cage
Can a
match?
cage truly hold all those mascots though? They're too ferocious.
That's a good point. You know, I don't even know half of them. I heard there's probably like 8 or 9 expansion bids, and I only know of like 3 or 4 mascots. So I could.
What exactly would the
Lycan?
flaming Cheetos do in a
Oh, wait,
whatever that
we
one
could
is?
hire
What
the
would they do in a
riflemen.
cage?
They could hope to choke somebody as they're getting eaten.
Okay.
We can hire the riflemen to shoot the lichens.
Oh, there you go. Oh, there you go. Yeah, but then how do you know they're not going to turn and shoot on you too?
Because I'm a mythical bird.
Gotta watch
I
out
don't
for
Hey,
the
all right, we got a question from the chat.
Oh, we do actually, or like a
We
real
do, we do.
question?
Like a real question, like
Okay.
a non-fighting mascot
Is
question.
it Greg's question or Cameron? Which
It's
one?
Cameron's question.
Okay, Cameron, here is the question. If you were to get a team, a significant portion would come from the draft. What message do you have for rookies that would be interested in your team, and what qualities are most important to you? We covered some of that already, but did you want to expand on that at all before we wrap up?
Sure. I mean, yeah, great majority will come from expansion, but we also do have the supplemental picks that will become free agents if they want. But as for rookies coming into the draft, go out there, contact people, just be on their door.
Yeah, I think that's one of the mistakes they make on a regular basis. They don't understand that they need to reach out and make themselves known to people. I thought I saw one more question.
I got one.
What type of personalities are you hoping to get meshed together? Say you get the game. You trying to get a melting pot? You trying to get somebody that thinks like you? Like you're the owner, right? So are you gonna take the reins on the entire team? You're gonna let your coaching staff do some work? What's your expectation?
I'm gonna take the blame. I'm gonna let my coaching staff do their jobs.
There you go. I guess, well, we can't ask you who you have in mind already, obviously. There's only a couple people that actually said who they actually had in mind. I think they're mostly co-owners of GMs. But here's the last question. This comes from Greg Soto as well. It says, Ethan, if you do get the bid, what team in the SFL do you see being your rival?
All of them.
Every team that's a bird.
Yeah, well, he's gonna be part of that whole bird crew. But also, think about this: it could be the other expansion team, right? It could be them, depending on where that is. What's the closest team to Washington?
It'd be Vancouver, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, Vancouver. Maybe.
Vancouver Island is right next to me.
Okay,
it's right in the sound. Then you have Portland.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's right.
So you guys could have a thing like we do in Texas with the 3 teams and the trophy and all that stuff. That could happen too. Okay. All right. Let's see.
You have the I-5 trophy.
There you go.
You have the I-5 trophy.
There you go. Perfect, Coach. All right. On that note, Ethan, do you want to have any last words before I sign us off?
Shout out to my team, the Houston Hyenas, and Winkler, you're the best. The rest of them, no.
Whoa.
Yes.
All right.
I tell you guys this all the time. Oh, I got one last word also. Hashtag fuel up. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, and on top of it, I gotta say this. Tyler did not talk enough about the Albuquerque Adams and their strong ass defense. Pardon my language.
Wow.
Well, I only have a certain amount of time. If we want to do a little separate segment, I mean, we'll do that. I mean, we could do that later. I could make my own show about the minor league, but we'll go about that later.
All righty then. On that note, and all of those notes, we got. I don't know. The show got a little away from me tonight, but I mean, what a show! I told everybody we were going to have a big, crazy show tonight, and we had a big, crazy show tonight. So, special thanks to Thomas Smith, to Coach, to Jeff Gagne, Benji Matson, Tyler Falk, Eagle for stepping in for Eddie, Hunter Norwood, Mike Percoco, Ethan Kai, Kendra and Nate Hall. Who am I missing anybody? Is that enough guests on one show or what? I wonder if this sets a record. Did I get everyone? Oh, and Gunny, of course, always. Thanks to Gunny. Winkler, great to have you back. Thanks for all the work you did for this show and the extra graphics and everything. Appreciate you. Eagle, again, thanks for stepping in for Eddie. So all of that being said, I know we went a few minutes over. I said we go an hour and a half. We went an hour and 32. That's not too shabby. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Love you guys. I love that you guys are always in here every night. I love that you're in here early talking about the music that I play and the show that's coming up. You guys really kind of get me motivated to keep doing the show, so I really appreciate it. So we've got SFL Minor League tomorrow night, and we've got playoffs. Playoffs? We talking about playoffs? Playoffs on Sunday. All right? And we will see you back here Tuesday night, 9 p.m. on Twitch. Have a glorious night, and we will all see you at the tees.